As with so many things in their family's past, it started quietly, softly, without flourish. A whisper at dusk. That was how Janelle recalled it. Robyn's entry did not seem menacing initially. She seemed polite, poised, even soft-spoken. The other wives, Christine, Mary, and Janelle, steered clear of her. They'd experienced other women entering the family in the past and assumed that this would be no exception. But it was. It all was different. Janelle remembered it like an open sore. Kody had declared with that unmistakable spark in his eyes that he was dating a new woman, Robyn. She lived a few hours from them, had been married once, and had children. Kody called her spiritual, nice. He wouldn't shut up about how lovely she was. The family had established clear boundaries when courtship occurred. Kody was supposed to maintain physical affection respectable out of respect for the other wives. He hadn't kissed Christine until wedding day. It had been even more formal and traditional with Mary and Janelle. But with Robyn, that was not the case. Kody kissed her before they were married. Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to Reality Recap. Don't forget to thumb up this video. What made it worse was that he didn't deny it. Janelle learned of the kiss on producer interview day, on tape, when Kody let his guard down and made a subtle but telling admission. Christine had screamed. Mary had shut down. And Janelle? She stood with hands clasped in front of her, silent, submissive. No screaming, no confrontation. She did what she always did. She kept it on hand. But something within her changed. This wasn't purely romantic pursuit. It was something different altogether. A turning point. Slowly, Kody began to change. He became more erratic. He began showing up late to nights he'd scheduled with Christine and Janelle. Mary admitted she hadn't been emotionally connected with him in years. But with Robyn, the dynamic was entirely different. He spent hours at her house, then full days, until it seemed like he had moved in for good. He started speaking of Robyn in the middle of conversations that weren't about her. In an argument about money, he said to Janelle, "Robyn gives me support emotionally." And in another full-blown family fight, he calmly whispered, "Robyn would have done this better." Gradually but unmistakably, the message got through. Why can't you be more like Robyn? The wounds were little to begin with. Skipped anniversary dinners, snide comments said in interviews. Whenever Kody announced he had a lot on his plate, Janelle came to later understand it was shorthand for hanging out at Robyn's. Family outings with the children had to be rescheduled. Robyn continued to maintain her innocent, sweet facade. If confronted, she'd cry. "I've always felt overwhelmed by the family dynamics," she'd say. But Janelle started noticing something the others wouldn't admit. Robyn didn't have to follow the same rules. She was the exception. Always. Years passed. The family moved, the children grew, but Kody's favoritism remained. And while Janelle had always been the stoic one, she began to change. She started pulling away. The fierce optimism that things would go back to normal dissipated, giving way to a quiet resignation. Next was the silent rage, not explosive, but dense. A slow, steady heat that eventually hardened into a cold clarity, a quiet determination. One night, under the full moon outside their Flagstaff home, Janelle stood before Kody, not screaming but resolute, her voice low, stern. "Kody, do you even see me anymore?" she asked. "Or are you waiting for me to behave like her?" Kody responded just as you'd expect, defensive. He attributed it to the stress of leading two lives, but the unspoken reality between them hovered over them. He never loved the other wives, not the way he loved Robyn, and he wished they would change for her. Janelle didn't back down. Christine noticed too, and she didn't hold anything back. In a now viral interview, Christine came out and said straight out, "I was never enough for him, but Robyn was." In the same confessional, Robyn sobbed, saying, "I never asked to be his favorite. I just wanted to be part of the family." But by this point, the other women didn't care about her sobs. For too long, they'd suspected the worst. Janelle was among them. She had had enough. "I saw you gain from each choice that brought us suffering," Janelle said to Robyn in a candid, passionate on-camera interview shot, but never entirely broadcast. "Undefined, and you never stood up for us. Undefined, you just sat back and let him raise you up over us all." Years afterward, Janelle finally spoke it clearly in a much-anticipated tell-all. She spoke deliberately, carefully, as she barefaced it. Kody's pursuit of Robyn had not only been inappropriate, it destroyed the spirit of their family. "We had boundaries. We had expectations. Everything he withheld from us, he gave to her. And when we asked why," she said, "they called us bitter, jealous, less." It was one of the rawest, most unfiltered moments the show had ever had. Even the producers sat in stunned silence. "I stayed," Janelle went on, "because I believed in the family, in the kids, in the idea. But Kody? Kody didn't want multiple marriages any longer. He just wanted Robyn in 4 different forms, and I was never going to be one of them." Kody didn't mince words in his own interview either. "Yes," he admitted, "I loved Robyn in a different manner. I felt understood. I allowed that to affect the way I acted towards the others. Perhaps that was unfair, but I was weary of being disrespected." He attempted to cover up his own emotions with justification, but by then trust was lost. From his wives, from the audience. The truth no longer intimidated the women. They were finally speaking the words that had existed unwritten for so long. Janelle lives on her own now. Her children come by regularly. She gardens, she reads, she laughs. She's rebuilding, and she's not quiet anymore. In her last interview alone, she finally spoke what so many had been wanting to hear. "I used to love Kody so much. I loved us, but when somebody wants to be queen and the rest of us are supposed to bow down, that is not a family. I won't live that way anymore. I know who I am, and I don't have to be Robyn." She smiled then, not with bitterness, but with something gentler, freedom. "I'm Janelle Brown, and I'm making my own decisions at last." Flagstaff was moving into late fall, a stark reminder of how fast life can shift, and how even that which is lovely can mean the end. The leaves outside the family cottage had changed into a fiery mass of reds and oranges. Janelle had not seen Kody and Robyn together for months, but today they had all, grumbling, decided to meet. The producers had urged it on. But beyond that, it was the children, particularly Gabriel and Gwendlyn, who had pushed hardest of all. They were demanding answers, no more crying, no more lying. They wanted truth, closure, accountability. A long wooden table filled the rustic cabin's space. Each breath, each look, was recorded by unobtrusive cameras hidden in the corners. Janelle came first, her hair smooth, her eyes calm. Her boots clicked on the hardwood floor, her forest green jacket hugging her close. Kody and Robyn followed. She had an arm wrapped tightly around his, holding on as if it were her last lifeline. His expression was that of a man going into battle. The room was charged with tension. Gabriel stood by the fireplace, arms folded, jaw clenched. Savannah sat next to him, eyes bloodshot but still on fire. Logan, Gwendlyn, even Aurora, Robyn's daughter, were present. Gabriel spoke into the silence. "Let's be clear before anyone pretends that this is just miscommunication," he said. "We witnessed this family tear itself apart. We saw you choose her over and over." Kody's mouth opened to say something, but Gabriel held up a hand. When I wept because you didn't come to my graduation, you instructed me to get over it. You explained that families are complicated, but they're not complicated. They're choosy. Janelle's hand cradled her son's arm carefully. He sat, though the hurt didn't dissipate. It lingered in the air like smoke. Janelle focused on Kody and Robyn. Her tone was low, matter-of-fact. "Do you see me now?" she demanded. "I asked you that years ago, and you couldn't answer, so answer it now." Kody shifted, clearly uncomfortable. "You were there, Janelle. I do see you, but I was drowning. I needed help, and no one, except Robyn, gave it to me." Janelle's voice didn't change. "No. Robyn didn't stand up for you. She stood with you. The rest of us pushed back against you. That's not disrespect. That's partnership." And then she addressed Robyn, stern and accusatory. "Do you think you actually deserved his loyalty in a fashion we didn't? Or did you just get to take advantage of a man who needed someone to worship him, no questions asked?" Robyn appeared taken aback. Then softly she replied, "Being the pet. It wasn't something I ever wanted." Christine spoke up from the back of the room, soft, but slicing into the moment like a knife. "But you were, and you didn't hold it with care." Everybody looked at her. She hadn't come in with pomp, but her words meant something. Christine's presence could no longer be ignored. Her chin was raised. She stood tall. "Christine," Janelle said, "you watched him walk away from our kids. You watched him make a line between you and the rest of us. And you let that happen." Kody pounded the table. "Enough!" he yelled. "You sound like I wished this family to dissolve, as though I plotted it." Janelle didn't blink. Her tone never increased, but it was heavy with years. "No, Kody, you craved control, and you found someone who let you have it when you were unable to manage the rest of us." Something unreadable crossed Kody's face. Grief, guilt, anger, all bound up together. Quietly, Kody said, "I didn't know how to love you all the right way. I failed. But I was sick of being the villain in everyone's narrative." Janelle hesitated, then spoke calmly. "Then stop narrating the story as if you're the victim." Robyn burst into tears. "I've only ever attempted to keep this family together," she cried. "I never wished to replace anybody. But nobody hurried to hug her, this time." Not even Aurora, sitting silently next to her, looked away. Then Gwen spoke. "You say that each season," she said simply, "but you weren't only made the favorite. You accepted it. That's complicity." Heavy silence then, the kind that cried out louder than words. Janelle stood up from her seat. "I didn't come here to debate," she said. "I came to step out of the version of this family that never really saw me." She turned to face both Kody and Robyn. "You don't think about me until it's convenient, but I'm not the problem, and I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm done being a supporting character in a story where Robyn is always the lead." Then she looked to her children. "I'm choosing us now. You can live in whatever fantasy makes this easier to stomach, but we're finished." Kody sank into his chair. Robyn wiped her face and cried quietly. Neither moved to comfort the other. Christine placed a reassuring hand on Janelle's shoulder. Gabriel embraced his mother tightly. The kids came together, linked not just by blood but by years of unspoken pain that had finally been named. There was no dramatic resolution, just truth. And with that, the final chapter of denial closed quietly. Also outside, the wind began to blow. It had been 2 weeks since Janelle dismantled the facade in that cabin, 2 weeks since Christine stood steadfast behind her, since Robyn's tears fell on deaf ears, since Kody, once patriarch of a great family, sat among the devastation he wrought. But what came next wasn't from the wives. It was from the children. The first was Gwendlyn. At 2:12 a.m., she unlocked TikTok and started recording. She sat in her room, surrounded by the cozy fairy lights. She didn't look angry, just done. "I used to think silence was the respectful thing to do," Gwendlyn said, looking directly into the camera. "For the show, for my dad, for Robyn. But I'm not doing that anymore." She took a breath. "My dad wanted obedient wives, and when they weren't, he punished them emotionally. He kept Robyn up to a standard none of us could match, not even his children. Viral by morning. Kody, exposed trending within hours." Gabriel's update came afterward, more direct than metaphoric. On his Instagram story, he posted, "He stopped calling. He stopped visiting. Just because we didn't act like Robyn was our new mom. Does that mean we're disloyal?" Then Garrison chimed in, "We didn't lose our dad. We saw him leave us. Behind for someone else's family." It lit a firestorm. The Brown family's social media channels were deluged, comments flooded in, hundreds of thousands of them. Support for the kids was immense. Support for Christine. Support for Janelle. But not for Kody. Not for Robyn. Robyn later went live on Cameo, shaking in her hands, voice shaking. "I didn't ask for any of this," she sobbed. "I was just trying to love everyone. I never sought to be the bad guy." But the criticism was relentless. You saw it occur. Silence does not equate to love. You allowed him to forget his children. Within a matter of hours, TLC executives scheduled an emergency conference call. The situation was out of control. The ratings on the show were through the roof, but not for the reason they had hoped. Viewers weren't tuning in for drama any longer. Undefined, they were seeking accountability. One leaked email from a producer wrote it bluntly, "We need to change the narrative. Kody is toxic." Robyn's reputation was in tatters. The audience no longer sought wishy-washy apologies. They demanded justice. The gaslighting had grown thin. In the shadows, rumors of suspending production swirled. Some insiders advocated for a spin-off centered on Christine and Janelle. Others speculated about something more drastic, excluding Kody altogether. Kody, however, went live on YouTube. His hair was mussed. His eyes were bloodshot. "Those who do not comprehend plural marriage are making me out to be the bad guy," he claimed. "I attempted to create a family. I attempted to love all my wives." He stopped, his voice laced with bitterness. "But some of my kids, they've been poisoned. By Christine, by Janelle. I was never respected by them." The comments section was savage. "They didn't poison anyone. You failed them. Blaming your own kids? That's a new low. You wanted control, not connection." Then came the legal fallout. Christine's attorney served notice. Kody was indebted for years of unpaid expenses, including fees associated with Truly's schooling. Janelle followed with a bombshell of her own. Based on her bank statements, Robyn's $900,000 Arizona mansion had been paid for with money diverted from the family's group account. Money that was intended for all of them. Janelle and her kids, on the other hand, had been forced to live in a trailer, parked on dry ground. In a closed-door interview, Janelle disclosed, "He said he was broke, that there was no more land. But at the same time, he was constructing Robyn a kingdom." Then came lawyers, and TLC caught in the middle. Then Logan, Kody's oldest and previously quiet son, spoke up. His Facebook post went viral. "We loved our father. We respected him. We made excuse after excuse. But the family fell apart the second he put one wife ahead of love for all. We were children. We were better than that. This isn't a smear campaign. It's simply the truth." The backlash was quick. Robyn's Etsy jewelry store crashed overnight. Kody's cameos plummeted to a near zero, and public demand exploded for a clean start. Christine and Janelle, life after Kody, became the rallying cry. TLC couldn't help but take notice. Supporters gathered around the adult children. Some provided employment, others contributed to Garrison's community initiatives. Gwendlyn candidly discussed family estrangement on podcasts, promoting healing. People magazine featured Gabriel in a story where he openly discussed the years of emotional abandonment. At home in Utah, Janelle sat on her back porch. It was chilly in the morning. She huddled in a wool blanket, drinking hot tea while snow fell around her. Her phone rang with messages, appreciation from fans, strangers, young women, and mothers who thanked her for raising her voice. She raised her eyes, steady and solid. "My husband might be gone," Janelle told the camera, "but I've discovered my voice. More importantly, I've discovered my children by my side." She took a break. "I don't regret getting out. I only regret being quiet for so long." But the tale wasn't done. Sister Wives. Season 19 concluded on a twist that nobody expected. Robyn Brown was still standing, more confident, more prominent, and less remorseful than ever. After a year marked by distance, divorce, and dysfunction, Robyn had come out not only as the surviving wife, but arguably the one who achieved everything she set out to. Mary, Christine, and Janelle forged new lives outside of Kody, while Robyn stayed solidly grounded. What had started as a crisis for her and Kody had become a new status quo, one where she no longer hid her hand in the breakdown of the family. She finally uttered the words, what fans had long suspected. Robyn acknowledged on Tell All Part 3 that she was always Kody's preferred one. The reality TV drama's core conflict was no longer theory, it was admission. Kody's fixation on Robyn's requirements had estranged his initial 3 wives for years. Earlier in season 19, Robyn had pretended not to be sure about monogamy. She said she wanted the other wives to go back to Kody, to revive the plural connection. But when that didn't work, she started to tell people she was trapped in the marriage. But by the tell-all, even that was debunked. Robyn informed host Sukanya Krishnan something that validated what viewers suspected. She had been prioritized at all turns. One example? "When Kody and I travel," Robyn confessed, "he gives me the baggage rack for my stuff. In the meantime, Christine's and Janelle's baggage, it was left on the floor." When venturing out on adventures with their mutual husband, the ex-sister wives remembered feeling so disrespected. Kody was much more invested in his own comfort than theirs, and his discernible, disparate treatment of Robyn was a glaring indication of favoritism. Fans couldn't help but notice, and neither could the ex-wives. What made it more unpleasant was Robyn's nonchalant attitude. Her self-satisfied look when they were discussing it didn't escape anyone. Rather than accepting their hurt, she dismissed it, saying it wasn't important. Because the family broke apart, Robyn never contacted any of them. Not Christine, not Mary, not Janelle, and not any of their kids. The silence says it all. It wasn't sorrow. It was evasion. Robyn never grieved for the collapse of the plural family because she had already achieved everything she had hoped for. She no longer has to pretend. Robyn's objective to be Kody's #1 wife wasn't something she obtained following the divorces. It was assured years ahead of them. The moment Kody started putting Robyn's happiness ahead of everyone else's, the deal was done. With everything out in the open now, Robyn has ceased to deny that she played a role. The pair seem pretty happy. They were photographed smiling side by side in Idaho Falls in a May 2025 Facebook update. They've also upgraded to a posh $2.1 million home after they sold their Flagstaff house toward the end of 2024. Although the sale was said to be motivated by financial difficulties, it did not hinder them. They sold the previous house for $1.775 million and soon bought a grand 7,884 square foot estate with 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. For a couple reportedly floundering, life looks quite cushy. One reason why, according to In Touch, Kody's financial burden has significantly reduced. He apparently now is only supporting Robyn and her kids. Last season, on season 19, Janelle explicitly talked about money problems in the family. She shared that Kody had often withdrawn money from their joint family account without informing anyone. Though Janelle was technically the bookkeeper, Kody was in charge. Nevertheless, he made it sound like she controlled everything, when in fact he made the decisions and shirked responsibility. Due to the irresponsible spending of Kody, Janelle and Mary had to struggle tooth and nail for what was their fair share of Coyote Pass. In the meantime, Robyn was found to have spent a considerable amount of family money on dolls. Yes, dolls. As per Ashley's reality roundup, Robyn spent an estimated $60,000 in the year 2024 alone on accessories and collectibles of her doll fixation. Despite the rest of the family fighting to get by, this hobby has never appeared to take a back seat. Indeed, the alleged Etsy account connected with her is still up and running, still selling merchandise. After divorcing Janelle and Christine and Mary, Kody's monogamous relationship with Robyn could seem like a fresh start, but fundamentally, it's built upon the same unstable emotional platform that worked to collapse his plural marriage. Because the reality is, Kody didn't turn towards monogamy. It occurred because rejection, divorce, and distance necessitated it, not because he realized emotional clarity. That's not a fresh start. That's a breakdown. And now, Robyn bears the emotional burden 4 women formerly did. What characterizes this new marriage isn't love, it's Kody's intense desire to be seen. Polygamy provided him with mirrors. If one mom-wife criticized him, another complimented him. If one shut him out, another recreated intimacy. He gorged on that cycle of comfort, chaos, and control. Now the cycle is broken. Robyn, no matter how loyal, is just one mirror. She cannot reflect everything back to Kody that his ego demands. And worse, she's now solely responsible for his emotional self-worth, something Kody has never been able to maintain on his own. It's a fragile marriage, a high-maintenance setup. Kody's whole sense of self, created over the span of decades, is beginning to disintegrate. He's at an age where he can't quite define himself any longer without ongoing reassurance from other people. So, if Robyn fails, if she becomes fatigued, doesn't agree, or even emotionally retreats, then Kody has no place to go, no default, no cushion, no spin. And for a man his age, that sort of vulnerability is difficult to bear. It would not be surprising if the crowd soon sees
Robyn, who used to be the most emotionally steady of the wives, seems more and more agitated now. In any subsequent season, it would not be shocking to witness that steadiness completely break down. Throughout the previous season, she tended to talk in coded language about loss, loyalty, and commitment, making guarded admissions through shuddering voices and nervous tears. These were not the words of a woman confident within her one-on-one marriage. They sound more like somebody preparing to fall apart, struggling to remain calm, or silently drowning in shame. Because Robyn isn't just shouldering the burden of her husband anymore, she's also propping up a crumbling broadcast tradition. A tradition whose very cornerstone has already disintegrated, and deep inside, there's a good likelihood she feels partially responsible. But the actual problem might not be Robyn at all. Kody's definition of monogamy seems to be based on emotional immaturity and an inability to perform real self-healing. Until he can work on that much-needed internal development, his brand of this new start is less about commitment and more about control, a response to the loss of his other wives. Withdrawing into a smaller relationship doesn't repair what was basically broken. If anything, it isolates the dysfunction. Misaligned needs have characterized each season of Sister Wives, and this one was no exception, only more acute. Kody speaks the language of monogamy these days, but his behavior is otherwise. The emotional outbursts, the control issues, the ongoing resentment toward his previous wives, all point to a man whose fundamental nature hasn't changed. His sense of self was constructed in the context of plural marriage, and now that that's been taken away, he's lost. Robyn's tolerance is the final strand supporting him, but emotional baggage like that isn't something a single person can bear indefinitely. The reality is, Kody's needs were influenced by a lifetime of plural dynamics. He had multiple emotional mirrors, wives who were able to deflect, reflect, and restore him. That framework enabled him to sidestep actual self-reflection. Now, with only Robyn, the fantasy is over. And this model of their marriage? It's not even a marriage. It's a survival agreement, kept together by fear of becoming outdated, fear of looking silly, fear of having to accept that the dream failed. And yet all of it only speaks to what's already transpired. There is hope, no matter how remote, that Kody and Robyn might build something healthier, something genuine. But that takes vulnerability, growth, and a willingness, especially from Kody, to do the work he's long avoided. Because Sister Wives is no longer the story of a polygamist family. It has become a quiet, slow-burning, emotional unraveling, disguised as monogamy. With any luck, the Browns, individually and together, can find the wisdom to acknowledge that collapse and transform it into something redemptive. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Reality Recap for more updates like this. Thanks for watching.